In the construction industry, 70% of software implementations fail. It's a huge problem for majority of contractors. That's why it's BetterBoss's mission to solve this problem for you guys. Now, we have a proven method and secret formula that works every single time. It's called the B.O.S.S method. Blueprint, organize, systematize, then scale. Now, in each phase, we need to have a goal, a SMART goal, right? SMART is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. Now, for the blueprint, this is all about discovery, planning, and foundation. You really want to understand your businesses and create the implementation roadmap. By the end of week one, you want a clear picture of where you are and exactly where you're going. Now, when you're looking at the blueprint phase, this is all about kickoff and discovery. At this point, we want to map out your current workflow from a new lead all the way out to completion. We want to document every step in the process. Who's assigned what tasks have to be done in each stage, what communication needs to be done internally or externally. A key point I want to focus on here is we need to define our core services. What do you sell? What are you the best at? What's the greatest opportunity for you guys to specialize in? We really want to refine those core services and make sure when we're building out the system that we're building rinse and repeat processes for those core services. Now, I always suggest in this kickoff doing a 1 to 2 hour call that you're recording with your team. We want to figure out what pain points and bottlenecks they're dealing with every single day. Another key part about the blueprint phase is the data collection, right? This part is very important. We want to make sure we're collecting all our supplier logins. If we have a customer and job list that we want to export and import into the JobTread system, we need to make sure that we're cleaning that information and getting it ready for import. I think it's a great idea as a team to look at your previous jobs. Maybe look at the last 10 to 20 estimates, try to see where there is similarities and where there's differences. We want to make this as rinse and repeat as possible, creating consistency for the organization. Anything with contracts or documents that you guys are using in different systems, just make sure we collect that verbiage so we can create the document templates later on. And one of the best things about JobTread is how open it is and how well it communicates with other tools. So we need to decide what is going to be in our tech stack. Company Cam, QuickBooks, EagleView, different measurement tools like Render, Acorn for financing, Stripe for payment processing. Let's make sure we feel very good about our tech stack. I do have a kickoff guide that is going to be in your JobTread Connect app. So if you go to your profile and you click on Connect 2026 and you type in Nick Perrette, you can go to the files and you'll be able to find this kickoff guide here. Now, the kickoff guide, I think, would be a great tool for you guys to utilize. You can talk about your service mix. You can go through your different tech stack. You can go through things like your pipeline stages, lead sources, and all this information is going to be very beneficial as you guys go throughout your build out process. For an example of a kickoff schedule, basically it could be between 120 to 150 tasks, right? And this is all done by taking the transcript of the kickoff call and then importing it with any other resources needed to create a job schedule using Claude AI, ChatGPT, you name it. Once this is imported, now we have a roadmap of where we need to go for a successful implementation. All right, now we have organized. This is all about data structure, catalog, and setup. Now we're building the foundation of our JobTread, the customers, jobs, and catalog structure, the backbone of everything. If you get this right, the rest will flow smoothly. All right. So in this step here, what we want to be doing is customizing our system for import. So we want to create custom fields for our jobs, our customers, our line items, our vendors. This is all the information we want to track every single time for every project. It can also be used for KPIs, metrics to create things like custom views or tile dashboards. So really think this through and make sure that you're tracking the right information to be able to analyze your business. When we're looking at the catalog build, it's very essential to start with job cost settings. So here you want to set up your units, your cost codes, your cost types, right? This is one of the first things you should do, and then go into the custom fields. Once this is set up, then you're good to go for importing things like your cost catalog and your jobs. Now, one of the cheat codes that we use here, for example, if you're using ABC Supply or another supplier that's not directly integrated, into JobTread, you can go log into your supplier, and then we use this Google extension called Instant Data Scraper. You can scrape out the information, and then in your catalog, there's actually going to be an import template. You want to download that template and give the data that you scraped out to Claude, and it will actually format that for import for you. And you simply import that CSV, and you're off and running. The next process is going to be Systematize, okay? This is all about workflows, templates, and automations. This is taking everything you learned about your business, everything that you just collected in terms of data, and the processes that you optimized, and building that into the system. So it's rinse and repeat processes for you and your team. So the estimating engine, right? This is going to be one of the most powerful tools about the system. All right. So what I like to do is take those core services, create test jobs, right, for each one of those. You can move it all the way over in your pipeline so it's not in the way and nobody's getting confused. But you could have one for, a certain roofing system or a kitchen remodel or a custom home build, whatever it might be, right? Make a test job for each one of those core services. In this test job, this is where you're actually going to be building out those estimate templates. Here you can play with things like parameters. You can use integrated tools like Render or Eagle View and actually put in things like quantity or unit cost formulas. This will allow you to create estimates much, much quicker, right? If we're spending hours on these estimates, we want to make sure that we're creating these templates that allow you to save time and make selling fun. You want it, obviously, to be very highly functional and to save you time and be able to get accurate estimates. But you want to make sure that it is simplistic enough that if you hire an estimator or if there's somebody that's doing selling for you in the future, that it is very simple to understand and people can maximize those templates to sell more jobs and spend more time in front of potential buyers. So this example here is one that we're building out for a bathroom remodel, right? You can kind of see we go service by service. And as we go down, we add in different quantity formulas where when people punch in different parameters, they're able to calculate those quantities, right? Now you gotta be thinking, how can we get a ballpark estimate out as quick as possible if you're a remodeler, and then from there, simply turn it into a full-fledged final estimate. That's where it's gonna come into things like the document templates, which we'll talk about here shortly. Now JobTread has their selections rolling out here very shortly, their new revised selections, but for me, I'm always trying to figure out ways to use selections to increase our average ticket size and sell bigger jobs. So for me, it's all about presentation. Make sure you're adding in cover pages to all your different templates. You're telling your story. And then with things like selections, adding visuals and put the most expensive one on top and let them select from there. Now, when you're looking at the formulas, we do have a formula guide in there as well, right? So if you go back to your profile, and you go into Connect 2026, we have this formula Bible, which is very helpful. I know a lot of people want to utilize parameters and formulas. Start here, and I think that'd be a great way to learn how to fully maximize those capabilities. Document templates. Now, I absolutely love document templates. I'm a big believer that presentation wins you jobs, right? So especially if you position yourself as a luxury premium brand, all right, let's make sure that you're really playing the part. We like to create things for our proposals, our invoices, even with our subcontractors and vendors, right? We want to have those templates built out with all the verbiage, your contract, your scope, descriptions, you kind of name it, already put in there, including things like the email that's going to get sent. We want this as quick as possible and specific to each type of job. Scheduling. We like to have schedule templates for each type of job. Where it's starting at pre-construction, going through all the way through construction. We want to make sure that our subcontractors and our team internally is using those and updating those regularly. Giving access to your customers to the schedule is a big win at a transparency and clarity standpoint. Now, for to-dos, you can use to-dos for organizational tasks. It's a great way to keep everybody on the same page. You can have that for new leads that come in and things throughout the sales process to make sure that it's a rinse and repeat process and you can kind of predict and forecast those sales. Workflows and automations. All right, now JobTread just recently released the JobTread feature in September 2025, and it's a huge win. So this allows you to integrate different tools. We use this to integrate Google Calendar, our Cal.com bookings, our new leads that come in. Another great way to utilize it is with Go High Level. Now, if you integrate Go High Level, now Go High Level will have triggers and actions directly in the system. If you haven't messed with workflows yet, I highly suggest going into your workflow settings and adding in the different templates that they have in the library that are pre-built for you. Start to understand how it works. Remember, with automations, it's always if this happens, then this happens. So I would definitely play around with the tools. We have more videos on our YouTube specifically around workflows, and I highly suggest checking it out. All right, so here's just some examples here. So we wanted to integrate our Google Calendar to our JobTread calendar. So every single time that we put something on our Google Calendar, there's a webhook that sends over this information. What it's going to do is it's going to go look to see if that task is in our JobTread already. If it does, it's going to update it. If not, it's actually going to create a new one directly on our JobTread. This allows us to have a two-way sync with our Google Calendar and our JobTread calendar. Last is scale, and this step is just as important as the rest. We have everything set up, we're feeling optimized, we have processes that are refined and implemented in the system, but now we need to make sure that we're operational and everybody's adopted the system and using it properly. So this is where I'm finally integrating my QuickBooks, my payments, like Stripe. I'm making sure our invoicing and everything with our financials is dialed in. But then I want to set up our team. So we want to add in our team members and configure the roles specifically for them. So you can have one for sales, you could have an admin one, you could have one for production, you kind of name it. We also want to make sure that we're setting up all our subs and our vendors as well to have specific roles and set what they can see and what they can utilize in the system. We also want to make sure we have everybody set up on the mobile app. The mobile app is a fantastic way to allow people to clock in, do daily logs, you kind of name it. And then team training. So when you're looking at training, this part's huge. We use a tool called Tango AI. And you can see here on the right, what it does is you can actually go through a full job, it'll take screenshots and create you an SOP guide for you. But if you download Tango, it'll also pull up a sidebar and say, hey, click here, do this. It's all about getting your team's hands dirty. It's a new system, people don't like change, and they get a little bit of anxiety adopting that new system. Get their hands dirty, get them confident, and start to show them that this makes their job easier and gives them an opportunity to be more successful.